All right. Welcome back to another episode of The Common Theory. I am Chris here with my man Dallas, and today we have a special guest with us, you guys. This is Izlain. This is my man that has been helping us throughout the format, helping us just. This guy has been fantastic. He's done tournament play with us, tournament prep with us. I mean, he has been through and through just doing a lot of different things. He's also a content creator, so we got a lot of good questions for him today, and I'm very excited to have him here with us. So, Izlain, I'd like to just start with a little bit who you are. Give everybody a little bit about like your background in Magic and things of that nature.
Um, so I'm the resident old guy, I guess. I've been playing Magic since the 90s. Not super serious until the later 90s, but I did discover the game right around when it came out. Didn't know how to play. Took a while till I learned, and then when I did learn, I didn't have really a play group. Wasn't until high school that there were kids playing Magic at the lunch tables, and I saw and was like, "Yes, let me in." And then we played, and killed each other with Shivan Dragons and shit. And yes, that used to be a very good card.
Oh, it was an awesome card, bro. It was an awesome card in the day. Fire breathing was a thing.
Yes.
Don't listen to the young guy down there.
I mean, take away 25,000 cards, and that's what we had. So,
Yep, exactly.
It's a totally different landscape now. But yeah, so I mean, it was pretty serious through like Ice Age and an Odyssey block, and then a couple blocks that came right around after that. I played into early adulthood, and then pretty much everybody I knew who played it just didn't play or moved away or whatever. So, fast forward like a decade, more than a decade, and I met a girl, ended up that had a roommate that played, and had some friends that played, and so we ended up making it in real life play group. We got together once a week and played. I had no collection at that time. I had sold all my cards years prior, so it was around Kaladesh, and I just started buying everything I could, buying singles, just went crazy. Have a lot of junk as a result because I didn't really know what was going on, and initially we were starting with Standard, and then it's like discovered Commander. It's like Standard sucks, let's play Commander instead. And then that went from just playing regular Commander to getting to the point where I wanted to be as competitive as possible. Eventually broke into cEDH, and then
well, I think you're leading us into our next question, though. How did you get into cPDH?
Well, so when I got to cEDH, I played it for a long time, and then like pandemic happened. I played a bunch. And it was kind of around that time that the spell table revolution happened, where everybody was able to play with webcams online with paper cards. And then even further beyond that, there was the whole revelation with Moxfield coming out and then being able to use OBS to play basically for free with any card that exists, which is just mind-blowing for my 20 years ago self. Like, I could have been playing Magic all this time because of these tools, but they didn't exist.
I mean, I used to play on the workstation. I'm sure you remember the workstation way back when. So yeah, definitely. It was like insane.
Then even Magic Online was just always so ugh.
Yeah.
Then people did X-Fire and there's Cockatrice and whatever. But like, most of those things didn't appeal to me, and I never went that route. What appealed to me was being able to play paper Magic with friends. And then like getting over that hump of proxies. Because I think everybody initially is like, I paid money for these cards, so everybody else should have to. But when you have to pay like $800 for a card I paid $20 for, it's not cool.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, and I don't want to play against what you can afford. I want to play against your best deck, and you being the player you are, pilot it however you pilot it.
Okay.
So yeah, perfect. I mean, basically, long story short, I got super competitive, played all this stuff online, and it was like, I'm spending all this time doing this already. Why don't I just do the same shit that these other guys are doing and put my gameplays out? Because you know how many games I played where something cool happened and I was like, man, I wish somebody else saw that. Yeah, like I wish somebody else got to see that. And so being able to just play these games and have these cool things happen and then be able to share them with other people. Granted, I'm not a huge channel, so it's not like everybody and their mother is seeing what I'm putting out, but there is a good, decent following of people that are watching and give me feedback that they enjoy it and all of that. And it's something I've always done. I was a blogger for a lot of years, and I did podcasting in the past as well. So like I've always had that passion to be creative and put stuff out there. So it's just whatever I'm passionate about at the time. Like my old podcast was about video games, and we did 100 episodes. So,
I think you're I think you're leading us into the questions that me and Puzzle have for you. So, we do have a few different questions for you, and like once again, I can't say I'm so excited for you to be here, but cPDH, it's a whole different beast than cEDH, right? And I have to like the main reason you're here is we are trying to figure out your true perspective on your entrance to the format and see what we could do for the new players, right? We want to know like how, and obviously you're not new to Magic, but we're trying to help new players get into the format and keep them instead of just having like those feel bads or like they play deck that they believe may be competitive or not is competitive and then just get obliterated, right? Like the cEDH problem, right? Like you don't play against a time twister and then you play against it for the first time and then you're like, what just happened to me? Right? So, what is your thoughts when you first truly enter the format? Like, what? Maybe if you'd like to name some of the decks, you don't have to name some of the decks, but for examples, you could some of the decks that you played, your thoughts about like how competitive they are or they are not, or what would you, especially because leading into the tournament scene, because you went from end of the spectrum literally to the other side. So like it's pretty crazy to see the journey that you've done so far.
Oh, I think a lot of it is the same thing that you said on which people may or may not have seen by this point, but you said on the little interview I had on my channel, um, where you said that you used to grind like Legacy and other formats and had just extensive knowledge of the game itself. I think that helps a lot for anyone transitioning into any format, but there are still some humps, and then there's also the problem of arrogance, which I kind of had. Was like, I play cEDH, I know what's best, I can build a deck no problem, I'll be good, and then realizing you don't really know shit. So I don't remember how I first heard about it, but I saw it somewhere, and it wasn't cPDH, it was just PDH, or it wasn't even called that, it was just Pauper Commander. And it was just, I saw it and I was like, hey, that's cool. I have boxes and boxes of commons that I don't use. Like, this is a reason to use them. So I kind of was interested in it, and I had a play group of guys on my server where I was just like, hey, and it was towards the beginning of my channel, and I said, like, let's build some Pauper Commander decks. So we just built some random shit. I want to say I did Thunderclap Wyvern, which is like a Azurius flyer that has flash, but gives like your other flyers +1/+1 or something like that.
Yep.
And I literally just put in all of these 1 and 2 drop flyers that were tiny that would get bigger and then kill people because I figured flyers good, right? So it was terrible, but it was also just a casual. It wasn't competitive at all. And honestly, what really kind of pushed me in the direction, as weird as this sounds, is that video super underperformed when I put it out. Like, it was half, if not less than half, of what my average viewership would be. And over the course of time, it is my most viewed video now.
No kidding.
Weird as hell. So somehow or another, people were searching for Pauper or whatever, found that video, and I literally didn't play another game of Pauper until I started about a year ago doing it monthly. Which it hasn't even actually quite been a year yet. I think it's been like 10 months or so. I started doing this on my channel once a month. But yeah, basically, like, I saw that and I was like, okay, there's a demand here, so I should feed into that demand. So it was mainly for channel growth. And I knew who Clay was and I knew a couple other people, but I didn't really know hardly anyone. And it was kind of me just going, okay, I'm going to follow these dudes on Twitter. I'm going to hit them up and be like, hey, come play cPDH with me. And they said yes. And I said, okay. And then I said, okay, well, I know how to build. I'm good at building, right? Like, I brew decks in a couple hours, if that, in cEDH all the time. Doesn't mean they're, first draft, they may not be perfect, but they're still going to do something because I know the combos in and out. I know the staples in and out.
But did they do something?
No, I'm saying the decks that I put together in cEDH, yes, they've done stuff most of the time. But when I did this, it was around the time that CL2 came out, so it was the background.
Oh, okay.
And I was recognizing too that there were so many of these that seem powerful enough to be good in this format. So the absolute first one I built was Allura and the Agent of the Shadow Thieves.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
So this is no help from anybody, without looking at any lists. I didn't even know about the database. cPDH guide didn't exist yet. There was nothing. I just dug around and found my own answers to my own questions. And I thought this sounded powerful because Laura has a thing where you can make creatures unblocked and then they bounce. So I was like, okay, ETB creatures, reuse them with her over and over again. And then the Shadow Thieves does the
the indestructible.
makes them bigger, so I could swing in with her without having to worry about her dying. So it sounds good on paper, right? But it just doesn't have. I did end up doing enough research to figure out banishing Knack, so there is a Knack combo line in it. Don't know if that's a good place for it. I was just trying to jam a combo in, and this is a problem I had over the course of time, is figuring out what decks actually want a combo and which ones don't. So, like I said, this first one I did, and I basically ended up building a new one almost every month to be able to present on my channel, because I decided I was going to start doing this once a month. And then it was just getting involved with more and more people. I want to say Clay introduced me to you guys. Maybe it was Ryan, I don't recall. But as I got more involved with those guys, I was hanging out on their streams and making comments, and then getting involved on their Discords a little bit, at least posting my own stuff. Then some people trickled over into my server, and it's kind of just grown. But honestly, like, the decks and the way that I built them to begin with are just awful. Well, and I recognize that.
Well, let me ask you this. It sounds like you had the community overall has been pretty positive for you then, right? Like all of us overall.
More
like,
so than the cEDH community for sure. I mean, I had a lot of open arms experiences with a lot of them, but I had some negative experiences too, where I won't name names, but there's people like I don't talk to, they don't talk to me anymore, and it kind of sucks because like we were on each other's channels and did things together, and then all of a sudden not. And again, I don't want to get into drama, but that kind of shit happens. And I get that can happen in any hobby, any sphere, any forum, any place that you're interacting with basically strangers until you've, interacted enough to call them friends.
Yep.
So, I mean, honestly, overall, everybody's been very welcoming, very supportive, very cool. And even when I did present some of these shitty decks, they never said, oh, that's a shitty deck. They were just like, oh, that's an interesting idea, and then proceeded to kill me.
Sounds like your experience, honestly, overall has been pretty good. So now let's get to let's get to the meat and potatoes, right? Let's get to the competitive you. Because you've kind of already said and alluded to that you're a competitive player, you like to get, to the point, things of that nature. How has your competitive side been thus far? Like, your decks overall, like, have you thought they've been competitive and then learned otherwise they are not? Or, like, what is your experiences? Like, how do I say this? I'm trying to figure out the words myself. Like, if you played, let's say, I'm going to throw Gretchen out there, which obviously you have not played. But if you played Gretchen, did you think it was competitive to start, or you were like, yes, but then realized, no, this is not competitive kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I would say that probably the biggest example of that would be so one of my early decks was Sivrus, and I partnered it with Cloakwood Hermit because I saw the synergy there of any creature hits the grave, including during Sivrus's trigger, you get 2 squirrels, and then you can use those to sack to do fun aristocrat-y style stuff. And I've played a lot of aristocrats lists in the past. The combos aren't really there in this. It's more just synergy, and then it's more of just trying to whittle the table down over time, which it did do that, and it always had good card advantage. It was just, it never really felt like I was doing something powerful. So like on paper it looked really good, but then in practice it was just like, I don't think it's bad, but it's just not, it's maybe high power. It's not really like top end. It's not tournament ready. I wouldn't bring it to a tournament.
Yeah.
The first deck that I actually got a win on, I thought looked good on paper, and it ended up being good. And I've gotten a couple wins with it since, and that's the Oxida Finisher.
Okay.
And I was just interested in that because it had a unique ability, affinity for equipment, and then there are just enough like 0-drop rocks that you can slam down, and you get it out fast, you give it double strike, it just kills people really fast. So it has that potential, but it's not a combo deck, so it's not like fast. It can be fast if you get the right rocks at the right time, but it's not. It's like playing Godo. Like Godo's fast, it does a thing, but it's like, is it exciting? No, it's just it's Godo. You count to 13 and you win. So in
Yeah.
that way, it's kind of the same. It's just like I do this thing, it does the same thing every fucking game. It's consistent, it'll do it every game, but it's just it's not super exciting. I was much more thrilled when I finally made the deck that I played in the tournament.
Well, let's move to that subject because I know our man Dallas here has a few thoughts on that. But if I'm allowed to start with that, Dallas, I'd like to ask you this one, Izlain. When we were doing some testing, you kind of noticed some certain things about the decks that you were playing and things of that nature. And by the way, sorry, you guys, I am a bit under the weather right now, so I'm a bit congested. You're going to hear me kind of off and whatnot. But jumping back over to Izlane with this, what made you truly pivot, and spoiler alert, to Malcolm Kedis? Because I know you had a few thoughts. I know you spoke about it. You posted a few thoughts of your own about a few games over in the Sanctuary. By the way, I'd like to throw that out there. You know, we'll put down in our notes the Sanctuary Discord so people could go get some great games in there. Throw that out there. But I'm really interested to hear your thoughts why you've pivoted to that, because I know me and Puzzles both specifically were speaking to you about that deck, and then you did it, you pulled the trigger on it, and just of course, as you being a longtime player, you didn't go and try to look at people's lists. You were just like, I'm building my own and I'm sending it, and you did a great job. And I think you've had pretty good results. I did win the most recent tournament, but even in our testing, you still beat the crap out of me and attempt to beat me 2 games in a row when I had a turn 6 win and won one of those games. And so it was quite impressive.
Um, so the short answer is that I already played the deck in cEDH, so it was a very easy thing to do. Because so my thought process was, okay, we talked about this on my show with Puzzle, but there was basically a random invitation to follow Sanctuary on Twitter, and then a lot of interaction as far as notifications go with that, and then followed along, joined the Discord, and then it was like, okay, I'm interested, I want to play, but then I had to go, okay, I have to take the day off from work because it's just hours that I can't be on, and then I was kind of sitting on my thumbs waiting to see if I was going to get the day off, and I didn't really find out until like a week out, 2 weeks out. So prior to that, I was kind of sitting there going like, I want to practice, I want to play something, but I don't know if I even can go to the tournament. So then from there, my next thought was the decks that I've been playing have been newer cards or unexplored cards, or if they have been explored, like they weren't proven to be good enough. And I was like, I've done the thing where I brewed a deck and got it on the cPDH or the cEDH database. So I was kind of trying to match that in this format and be like, oh, he's the guy who fucking came up with that deck list and cool, you know? So I kind of wanted to be able to say that I did it in 2 different formats. Same with tournament stuff. Like I want to keep playing this until I win one or come close, and I want to post results in cEDH tournaments as well. So I'm just competitive all the way around. So my thought process was just basically like I looked at the decks I had been playing. I've been playing at least once a month for the last almost year, but then I've also had some games here and there in between. And I kept thinking like these decks feel like they should be good and they're just not getting there. I'm not getting like I literally played for like 6 months before I got my first win. And that was really frustrating because I win at almost every stream I win a game. And there are streams where I don't because we play 3-4 games on a stream, but I'm so used to at least getting a win here and there that was a long drought, and I was like, okay, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And it was kind of that arrogance that I was talking about.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, his first win was against me, guys. Throwing that out there.
For
But
it. Wow.
So yeah, I basically was like that, and then so my thought process was like I had been playing against you guys, and you guys were playing all these other decks that had Dargo or Malcolm or this or that, and I was like, okay, these are known quantities. They are the strongest decks in the format as far as they're either partners or they're the backgrounds. And me and Puzzle kind of made that concession as well during the last collab with you guys. So I just looked at that, and I don't know how I ended up on Malcolm Keta specifically, outside of just I wanted something that I knew was going to be more consistent and fast and just better. And I had already played that in cEDH, so I was like, I'm going to look at my cEDH list and see what I have to cut. And yeah, I had to cut quite a bit, but there was still a core there that was like, this is the same deck. I already have a ton of reps on this deck. I can go into this without needing a ton of practice, and I might be able to perform. So then it was just figuring out what cards I could put in to make it a deck. And, I started with, whatever 100 card or 99, 98 cards that ended up in the first draft. And then I played it against you guys. And like you said, I won the first game. The second game, I presented again. It got stopped, and then Puzzle won. But I was still right there. And nobody else was doing shit. So it was kind of like, okay, this is impressive. I'm actually going to be able to do something with this. But then there was like people talking to me and being like, oh, taking a look at the list and being like, have you considered this card? Have you considered that card? Or me playing with you guys and seeing somebody play a card. I'm like, oh, what card is that? I've never heard of that card. And I look it up and I'm like, that actually might fit. And so, that's how like Snapback got in the list. I didn't know Snapback existed.
Yeah.
When you guys said it, and I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And I put it in.
That card's sauce.
So,
sauce.
My lack of knowledge of all the commons that are out there is the biggest hurdle, and I think that's the biggest hurdle for any new player to this format. If you've already played at a competitive level, you kind of can grasp how combos work and the way the stack works and your threat assessment and things like that. But that's been my biggest challenge, is threat assessment. And I'm good at it in cEDH, but sitting down at a table with like some of the decks that some of these have, I think, is it Lotad? It's one of those guys that plays that Rebels deck.
That deck is.
I sat down against that and was like, what the fuck is this deck even doing? And it just keeps tutoring out these rebels, and I'm like, this is not doing anything. So I don't know. But then, like, I'm sure it has like a really good game plan. It's just not recognizing cards is really hard. And cEDH was the same way for me when I first started, like 7-8 years ago. But now I know pretty much all the cards that you need to know. And when people do drop a new card, it's because it's like from some fucking pre-con that I never bought, and I just didn't catch it in spoilers, because spoiler season is like 24/7 all year round now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of like the weird thing about our format, right? Like the learning curve is kind of awkward, right? Because you're just like you said, the rebels, like Lotad. So he's a member of our community. He's one of the mono white guys. So he plays a lot of different decks, trying to get them out there. He's actually currently on Loyal Subordinate, which is mono black, as crazy as that sounds.
And I'm arguing with him. He was kind of sad the other day because he had some unfortunate games in a row. And I was telling him, man, like, that deck needs to be in a tournament, because that deck changes the landscape of a game, like, single-handedly.
Oh, yeah. That Loyal Subordinate deck, that's something I've actually kind of harped on with him as well. Like, he's a great person, great individual, and I will say, I would love to be commentating a tournament with that deck at the table, so I could be like, let's see what happens. We're off to the races. I want to be that guy with a little fake gun that shoots a little flag out. Oh, I want to be that guy, because I think it would be hilarious to see it, watch it play, because people just, that deck shows up to the table and people's like heads start spinning in a circle like we're in Beetlejuice or something. Like it's pretty far out there.
3 damage every turn it doesn't sound like a lot, but in this format it just is.
Exactly.
Anyone who's watching this that plays other formats, they're going to be like, who cares? But when you get into I can't even describe it. And you guys understand because you've been doing this forever. I understand what I'm saying because I've converted to a point where I can actually compete. Anybody who's brand new to just EDH in general isn't going to know anything that we're talking about. Somebody who's entrenched in cEDH is going to think that they know, and they're probably not going to know. It's no different than like trying to play Oathbreaker or any other variant too. Like, there's so many different like nuances to building in each of them that it's a lot to pick up. But there's how many more commons than rares and mythics and uncommons? Like every pack is 7 commons, and then like the rest is the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are so many more commons out there. Like every day somebody brings up something. I see it on Twitter. I see it in Discords. Somebody's bringing up something. I'm like, I've never even fucking heard of that card before, and I've been playing this game for longer than some of these people have been alive.
Yeah. So let me ask one more question here, Dallas, and then the floor is gonna be yours. So here's one of my last questions for you, Izlain. I appreciate all the the thoughts and everything that you've been given to us. It's been fantastic. But were you under the impression about how fast the format could actually be? Like, did you think this was a turn 4, turn 5 format? Like, it is, because we could say it is. Like, I think that we all can agree. You are typically, if we're just playing our deck like solitaire, you can average a turn 5 win, right? Did you think or were under the impression that you could lose that quickly?
No. So let me make a quick analogy. Magical Christmas Land in cEDH is turn 0 to turn 1 wins. They don't happen that often. That's like, it just doesn't happen unless you get the nut draw. And the only way turn 0 wins happened was before Flash got banned, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Magical Christmas Land here is like a turn 3 win, probably, I think.
Well, we have one, but
Depends on
that's
the
like
decks. 1 to 3.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, in that earlier turn, that's kind of Magical Christmas Land here. So it's not super far removed. And there's even a channel called Team Turn 3. Like, turn 3 is what cEDH used to be. It was a turn 3 format. Because of the way the metas have shifted back and forth over the last few years, like, it's really more like a turn 4 or turn 5 format. So you guys being like a turn 7 or 8 format is still the same kind of gap as Magical Christmas Land is, right? So it's about the same. But what surprised me was that I went into it thinking, okay, this is Battle Cruiser. Like, legit, and no salt, no shade, just this is Battle Cruiser. I'm gonna go in here, only way to win is with combat damage, because good combos don't exist. So I built the decks that I built based on, I'm gonna go in here and I'm just gonna dirtle and fucking have synergies, and I'm gonna win through combat damage. It's kind of like a casual deck, right? So getting to the point where I personally presented win on turn 4 2 games in a row was like, okay, yeah, I guess this can be fast. Because even in the games that I played, most of the time people weren't doing it that fast. Even the decks that were good that I played with on my stream or where I guested or whatever, decks that are supposed to be top end, they still weren't winning until like turn 7, 8, 10. So I just thought, okay, this is what the format is, and so I built accordingly. But going into the tournament setting, where everybody's playing shit that can actually win at a fast speed, it is definitely a whole different ballpark. And it also makes me think that, unfortunately, most of the decks that I built aren't good enough to be competitive. Like, I called them competitive, and they are competitive. They're like fringe outlier decks. Like, they're still built to a competitive level, but they're just not good enough to get there, unless you're playing with powered things. So, it's the same argument that you have with power level in every format. So
yeah, definitely. But all right, Dallas, let's let you take the floor. Sorry, I've been hogging it the whole time. We have Izlain here.
One thing I noticed with you specifically, Izlain, is the frequency that you've been playing recently. Especially in
that was
the
definitely for practice purposes, to get the reps in, to make sure that I did make, because literally I made changes while we were in the fucking player meeting, and it wasn't that I changed the list, it was that my dumbass put basics in that weren't snow basics, and was like, oh shit, I'm running like 3 cards that require snow permanence. Like, I was on Frostbite and Scred, and I want to say Astrolab too, or if not Astrolab, it was something else that cared about snow permanence, and I was like, oh shit, I'm going into this tournament with the wrong basics in. Fuck. So I was like literally cutting out fucking copies while we were in the players meeting, like trying to shove them in my sleeves. But prior to that, it was actual legitimate changes. I submitted the day before that night. I resubmitted my list again because I had changed it like 5 times in the couple weeks prior, just making changes. Like I said, I didn't know Snapback existed. I didn't know this existed or that existed. Or I felt that a card I put in was underperforming, so I swapped it out.
What kinds of decks do you think you're leaning towards more so now than you were before? Because it sounds like you definitely lean a lot heavier into combo than you did initially, is the impression I'm getting. But
yeah, you're 100%. I was starting with aggro. So the first deck that I presented, that I built myself, that somebody in the community took a liking to, was Facade with Sword Coast Sailor. I basically was just looking at all the partner pairings or the background commander pairings, and I was like, I'm gonna build something and just make this mine. And I had been getting a little bit better at building to that point, so I just did it. And then Ryan from Comic Connoisseurs was like, I think your deck's got some legs. Let's do a Let's Brew thing collaboration, and we did that, and it took some turns. Like my original list, and then what we came up with together was a little bit different, and then I modified my list a little bit, and it's like 10 cards different than the one that Ryan ended up posting. But I guess like people liked it. I don't remember who it was that got brought up to me the other day, but somebody's been playing that deck, and I guess they have not gotten a single win with it, and I haven't gotten a single win with it either. So I was leaning towards this being like this aggro thing. I thought aggro was probably poised to be pretty strong, but when I see it compared to Gut, it's just not good enough. It's worse than the Teleth list. It's just not there. I thought it was, but it's just not. It seems really good in theory, but it just, when it's played out, it's been not good enough. So, yeah, I leaned into combo, and I leaned into a combo I already knew. And Malcolm, it does still put a target on your back, though. I very much felt like I was getting targeted in every game because at any point in time they were scared the Malcolm's going to go off, so fucking kill him, and then somebody else would win. Outside of the game where I just managed to politic with the gut. I managed to politic with the gut for my win because he basically was like, we got to kill these guys and then we'll go 1v1. And I was like, yeah, high five. And then I killed him. So,
yeah, that was another big topic, was just the politics in the format, because it's been an issue to some extent for a while, where there's like one deck that's just so much faster or has so many more combos and potential for that than the others that they get teamed up on. Was that your experience in the tournament as much still, or?
So in game one, I lost to Ryan, who was on TPI, third path Iconoclast, and
let's throw a little nugget in there. Sorry to interrupt you, Izlain. Let's throw a little nugget. We'll post down in the show notes below the Common Connoisseurs Discord and stuff like that. We keep mentioning certain individuals, like big shout outs to Clay and Ryan and stuff like that. So let's throw those guys out there. That's Ryan is Papa Popper and Clay's Clay. So we'll throw them down in the show notes below, you guys, so you guys could actually go talk to them, because they were also in the finals of the last event. They're great individuals, so definitely reach out to them if you need to talk to somebody. We've just mentioned them a few times. I just wanted to get that out there so people could figure out who we're talking about.
Well, and also if you watch the little collab I did with Puzzle on my channel, we talked about them as well, and they're in my Discord. They're in. They have their own Discord as well. I'm over there, so
yeah,
you can find all of us in the same. Yeah, we can find all of us in multiple places for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the politic thing is the same issue in any competitive format. Unfortunately, it is. So I'm kind of the kind of person that I don't want people to talk about what I'm doing, but I will definitely point out like what's happening. So I get it. Sometimes I wish that table talk was just not even allowed. That everybody just played the fucking game and would shut the fuck up and get on with it. Because a lot of times table talk turns into a fucking 20-minute, well, he can do that, and I'm not doing anything. Why are you attacking me? And that is one thing I do like about cDH, though, is that generally the number one rule is attack the black player, because the black player is using their life total either by Adnos, Necropotence, Peer, etc., etc., etc. So it's never a thing where like people are like, oh, you hit me. Why are you hitting me? It's like, I hit you because you're the black player. You're probably on Adnos. And they're like, I'm not on Adnos. Well, I didn't know that. Now I know that, but I'm still going to hit you anyway. It just kind of solves itself. And in cDH, the whole thing has always been play to your outs, play to win, no fucking regrets, no reservations. Like, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to do what I have to do to win. And that's where politics can come in and be the thing that helps you win. I have had games where I've said, like, oh, I'm not doing nothing, and then win. But there's been games where I've seen people do the same thing, where they're like, you should attack them. Or, somebody makes a targeted removal against somebody's commander, and they're like, why are you hitting my commander? You should hit that commander. And then they go, okay, I'll hit that one instead. Like, I hate that shit. But it happens. It is what it is. Threat assessment, like I said, is the hardest thing to learn. And I think that a lot of people, even in this tournament, don't necessarily have the best. myself included. I just kind of, I think I like combo because I don't have to make those choices. I don't have to be the guy that was like, oh, you hit me, so I have to hit you, and there's politics. It's more just like, I don't give a fuck what you guys do. Hit me, don't hit me. I don't care, because I'm in a combo. And if I combo and win, doesn't matter who you hit.
Yeah, everybody does. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that's a like me and Puzzle were actually talking about that for a little while, and I think he could throw 2 cents out there with this one as well. It's pretty simplistic to play a combo deck because you get that exact feature, right? You're able to be like, okay, guys, I don't know what you're doing. I apologize. Your deck is cool. Here I am. Do my thing. Hey, guess what? Everybody died.
Well,
right?
And then I just sit there and hold up interaction and don't do anything. The problem I have is like there are those people who will target a particular player and or commander just because of what it is.
Yep.
Even if you're behind. And people get it stuck in that trap. It's like, all right, he played his Malcolm, but he's only got 2 lands because he used some like a Lotus Petal to get it out, right? So I went turn 1, land, pass, turn 2, land, petal, Malcolm, pass. Somebody goes to kill my Malcolm. When somebody over here has got an Abdel with 5 rocks on the board and is about to flicker it to win, right? And they killed my Malcolm when they should have just fucking done something about this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
It's hard, and I can't say that I have the best threat assessment in format. That's been my biggest learning curve, is like getting to the point where I was like, okay, combo is what speaks to me. Although I still like aggro and Voltron and stuff. Like, I'm still gonna play other decks, but in a tournament setting, this deck spoke to me. I'm working on an Abdel list, kind of similar to yours, which we've talked about a little bit. That it's different enough, but it's basically doing the same shit. There's probably, I mean, I'm kind of attracted to Gut Leader as well. I fucking hate Dargo, but I admit that Dargo's good. I just won't play him.
Me too. I will
Hey,
play
whoa.
him, but
It's the same with fucking Thrasios in cEDH. I hate Thrasios. I don't play Thrasios.
All right. Hang on. We have to tell the viewers. We have to tell Puzzle. We have to tell your secret where you dress up at night and you secretly play Dargo. Do we have to go through this right now?
I do.
All right.
I still hate him, though.
Yeah, I mean, for real, I hate it. I recognize the power, but I fucking hate him.
I don't know. If you've ever seen Puzzle late at night, secretly jumps over the buildings in his little coat, and then he's got his mask on, and then bam, slams Dargo Kedis out there, and then double strikes a player, and the whole table dies. It's awesome to watch. Turn 4 and turn 5. It's the best game you ever watch. It's hilarious. But yeah, I digress. So, but Puzzle, continue. What else you got for Izlain here? We're taking too much of his time away. So let's.
You guys are good.
So, still as a relatively new cPDH player, are there any color discrepancies that jump out to you as like one color stands way above the rest, or one color is extremely underpowered or underrepresented, or anything like that?
As you mentioned earlier, my reps have gone up quite a bit since basically that tournament was announced, and I knew I was going to be playing in it. And honestly, I've been trying to play more anyway, just for fun, because it's fucking fun. I've been enjoying it, but only been enjoying it because we've been playing tournament level, and it feels closer to cEDH. When we play like more casual, not as good decks, I'm kind of not as like when games take 15 turns, I'm bored. I've had games like that where it's stacked out and nobody can do shit, and it just drags and drags and drags. It's a 2.5 hour game. Like, I don't want that. And honestly, I had people on my server I was trying to get to play cPDH that were like, I don't want to play that because every game takes 3 hours, and I'm like, bro, you don't even know. Because that's all you've experienced, but it's not it.
That is kind of a problem that we do have, like, throughout the community, and I don't want to call it a problem, truth be told. It's just like, if you don't know, you don't know, right? Like, that's something, right? Like Malcolm decks, Abdel, Tatiovas, Gretchens, like the higher echelon is, I like to call them.
The top tier stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I try to stay away from that. I just say higher echelon. But yes, I'm not disagreeing with you. If those aren't getting played, you don't know what they do. right? So if you don't see it, you don't know it, right? So then you have like this other styles of decks, and you're like, oh, the average deck is like a turn 12, turn 15, turn 14, like. But then you get just like you were saying, right? All of a sudden you're presenting win on turn 4, presenting win on turn 4 against decks that are presenting win on turn 6 and on turn 6 and on turn 3, and then when you go from one side of the spectrum to the other, it's mind-boggling, right? Like you don't really know the
different than
format.
transitioning from EDH proper to cEDH. It's kind of the same thing
Exactly.
where you're like,
Yep.
holy shit, I've been playing these battle cruiser games that take 2 hours, and you can literally be done in 5 minutes or less, and shuffle up and play
Exactly.
another one and get 6 in an hour,
Yep.
under the right circumstances.
Yep.
Which,
Exactly.
I mean, in paper that kind of sucks. It's a lot of shuffling. I get it, but at the same time, it is very competitive and very fun, and it's, I don't know, it's bite-sized in that sense, and I like that because I used to play 3-hour slogs, and it was just like, man, I want this game to be fucking over. I want to play a different game. I want to play a different commander. I'm like over this whole fucking thing.
I mean, didn't we do 2 games the other day in an hour?
Yeah.
Like just boom, boom, boom,
It
boom,
doesn't take
done.
that long if the
Yep.
decks are built appropriately and they're on an equal power. That's the issue with the power level thing that's plagued EDH as a whole, no matter which subformat you're in. It's plagued it forever. Is getting everybody on the same page. I'm sorry, I forget what the actual question was. I just needed to point out that part.
Oh no, you're definitely good, man. You're definitely good. Like that was just one thing that's like super relevant for us, right? Because I believe that there are certain decks that are like the baseline, right? Like cEDH is a perfect example because we've been talking about it already. Like if your deck can't beat Godo, don't bring that deck to the table, right? Like that's kind of like one of those decks. It's just like, can you beat this deck? Can you beat this
every
deck?
deck should be able to beat Godo. Like Godo's not
exactly.
It's got so many weaknesses, but it just goes because people are like, I tapped out, and then he got to 13 or 11 or whatever the fuck it is.
Exactly. So if you have that, you can win, right? So like I feel that Dargo Ketis is a similar deck, right? Like Dargo Ketis could kill you every turn 5 of every game, pretty much. And if you can't beat Dargo Ketis, you really have to look at your deck and go, why can I not beat this? It's 2 creatures. I didn't play a single removal spell in the first 6 turns of the game. Like, what are you doing, right? Like, what is your deck even doing at that point?
I mean, and the parallels are there with cDH too, and then like there's a reason why blue farms at every fucking tournament because blue farms is fucking good. There's a reason why Godo isn't at every tournament because Godo doesn't slide under the radar anymore. Everybody knows what to do. Everybody knows how to stop. That's why Magda won that one tournament out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden has not posted any results since. It kind of snuck in, did its thing, won a tournament. It did the same thing as you two. It like 4-0'd and then won the final, and then disappeared. So you know, there's always those fire in the pan things. But to bring it back around again, I don't remember the other half of that question. So.
It was the question of colors, if certain colors stand out, fall flat, so on and so forth.
In my opinion, the strongest color pairing is it. I've seen more Izzet decks that feel strong than others. That's not to say that there isn't. I mean, Simic's always Simic. It's Simic. It does Simic things. That's just what it does. Azorius has some stuff. Monocolor, I haven't really seen a lot of monocolor. It feels like 2-color is like the format, and 1-color is kind of sort of represented. 3-color is basically non-existent, and anything above that doesn't exist. So, like I said, I'm hoping at some point maybe they revisit backgrounds and we get some 2-color backgrounds or 2-color creatures that choose a background so that we can get some more 3-color pairings, because when they did that with CL1 with just the monocolored partners, we all groaned and were like, it's not going to be powerful enough, wah. And then we got Malcolm and Rograk and whatever, Silas, fucking Malcolm, whatever, X decks are all over, Dargo decks, Jessica decks, Tevesh Zot decks. Like, there's just so many things that came out of that partnered with the old one. So I'm hoping they do the same sort of things so that we have all of these extra options down the road. But so obviously the glaring thing is that like black was not at the tournament at all.
Yeah, that was a big thing. So
that's surprising too, because I would think that there might be like some Rakdos like gut / black thing, or you know, even maybe Orzhov with Abdel. I
Well,
don't
you
know
know
if
what?
you guys don't
Let's.
have an animate dead effect, do you?
We do.
Not an
We do not.
enchantment. No.
Yeah,
But
unfortunate.
let's kind of pivot over to that since we kind of already brought it up. Let's pivot over to the tournament. Like Izlain already said, we already did a little feature over on his channel, so definitely check that out. If you'd like to make your shameless plug right now, Izlain, throw that out there for everybody.
Yeah, it's the possibility storm. Everywhere basically. I have a link tree that you can put in your thing that has all of my socials and everything there. But yeah, we just did a breakdown of the tournament, kind of like what decks were there, what was represented, a little bit about what those decks did, and then a full breakdown of the top four. And then we did a small interview with Gator here, who won the whole thing, because I thought it was a little awkward for him to have to be interviewed on his own channel. So I thought somebody needed to do it.
Yep, exactly. So I really appreciate that, man. Definitely gonna give you a lot of shout outs for that. But let's do just a small snippet over here for the viewers and stuff like that, since we're kind of running a little long in the tooth right now. But like overall, what I'm trying to get to is your specific tournament experience, like actual that event. Personally, me, I thought the tournament ran fantastic. Like, big shout out to Bobby B Fine, hosting the event, everything like that. Like, it was, in my opinion, fantastic. Like, the judge was great. Everybody there was just super kind and everything along those lines. But like, once again, kind of jumping back to you with your experience overall leading to this event, like what was it like, man? Like, did you have fun playing? Like, was it boring to you? Like, trying to hear the nitty gritty, you know what I mean?
Sure. Going into it, didn't know what to expect. I've never played in a tournament of like this format, like with the Swiss and cutting, blah blah blah. Like, so for me on the West Coast, it took place. It started at 7 a.m. So I set my alarm for 6:30 in the morning. Got up, was not really awake, sat through the players' meeting, and then they put us in our pods and we jumped in. And thankfully, I got stuck with Clay and Ryan in the first pod, and I've already played a bunch with them, so it was comfortable right off the bat. It's like, hey, we're homies. We already played this game together, so let's just play and have fun. And it really, honestly, could have been anybody's game. It went well. I think that everybody performed well. Like, I don't remember there being any glaring misplays or anything wild like that. Maybe I misplayed a little bit where I could have. It was pointed out to me by, I can't remember who the fourth player was. Was it Joe? It might have been Joe on Parcel Beast. I don't recall 100%. You'd have to fact check me, but it was pointed out to me by that player that I perhaps should have used removal that I had in my hand on Ryan, so that he wouldn't have been able to win the way he did. But in hindsight, that's where that came up. It wasn't so much that we really knew. It was, maybe he knew. I didn't really realize it. He was like, maybe you should use the thing you have now at end step before he untaps, so he has less mana to do the thing. And I think it may have slowed him down, but he may have still been able to win. Either way, my memory on it's fuzzy because it has been a week. And yeah, sorry. Almost a week, but
What just next time, just play like the I forget the name of the card, but it's like pay 1 mana, destroy your target player. Just play that instead. Like, you can't go wrong with that card.
yeah, Secret Lairs, man, they're always putting out all this fucking fancy bullshit.
Yeah, those cards are
The
crazy.
worst.
It went as expected. Things happened, and Ryan pulled out the dub. Cool. So
Yeah.
moved to and that actually took we went almost to time, and the time frame was 95 minutes, so just over an hour and a half. And we went to like 90 minutes, I want to say, because it was literally at the end. Ryan was able to kill us all on the stack by just casting spells and having 2 pingers out that just did 2 damage each time he cast something. And where I chose to interact was too late. So that was probably a learning experience for me. I don't think that it maybe... Again, I don't remember specifics, so I don't know if that would have made a difference or not, but it's possible. And if it did, then I'm salty because I was close. But it is what it is. So then we had a very short break. Like, I basically went from game 1 to game 2 almost immediately. And then game 2, it didn't drag as long, but I want to say it was about an hour. I was up against. All I remember from the game was that I was up against Kunks on Gut Leader, and he and I basically throughout the game I was draining people. Throughout the game, other people were draining people. So like we all kind of got to where we were at lower life totals, and then he basically said like, I need to kill these people and go into a 1v1 with you because I think I can win. And he was telling me this openly, like politicking. He's just told me straight up, like, we between the two of us, we can kill them and we can go into a 1v1 and I'm comfortable with that. And I was like, I'm comfortable with that too because I had combo pieces in hand. At least one. And then I had to dig for the other. But it basically came down to we fought and killed the other two players, and then mostly him. I think I helped just by doing Malcolm damage around the table. And then when it came to the 1v1, he was very confident he was going to kill me. He had like 3 skeletons and his gut on the table. And I don't think he had leader, or if he did have leader, maybe I removed it. I don't recall exactly, but I know that what ended up happening is that I bounced gut right when his trigger was going to go off, so he didn't get to do the sacrifice and get another skeleton. And then I electricuried and killed all of his skeletons because as soon as he did have leader. It was because I bounced gut. Leader doesn't do anything, so I was able to wipe his skeletons. And then at that point, I think he knew he was done, but he kept trying. And there was at least one more time where I bounced again, so he couldn't get any more tokens. And I was able to play. I told you about it while we were playing in the tournament. We were DMing, and I said, bro, like, you would not believe the amount of cards I just drew on this turn. I was like, treasure cruise.
Yeah, the treasure
analysis,
cruise. Yeah.
Into flashback deep analysis, I drew a ponder, and then I found the artillerist in the ponder pile and drew it, played it, and proceeded to win, and he couldn't do anything about it. And I was like, fuck yeah, that's what the deck wants to do. This is what we came here for.
Yeah, Kunk said a really funny thing. He was just like, you see, this is why I kill the Treasure Cruise players. Because they top deck the Treasure Cruise, and then they net so many cards, and then what do you think happens? They out card advantage me, so I just eliminate them, so I don't have to deal with the Treasure Cruise.
I think I had banked like 12 treasures or something. It was ridiculous. Like, I had so much mana that I was able to do that in one turn and dig that far. Because I dug like 10, 15 cards like to get to that win.
Yeah, he said it was insane.
He should have been able to kill me, but because I was able to just bounce him, it worked out for me, and that's what you want your deck to do. So it worked out well. Afterwards, he hit me up, was like, dude, it was great to play the first game with you. We've talked before, but we've just not played together. So he wasn't salty. He had a good time. And that is one thing I'll say. Nobody got salty. I never had any issues with anybody. We all had a good time. The people who didn't win after the first couple rounds, a lot of them dipped, and so it ended up where one player got a bye, which didn't really matter. And then we went into game 3, and that's one where I was playing against you, and we already said it a couple times, but it came down to we all tapped out, and you were able to win. And I don't think maybe if I took one more hit from Aaron and left up the interaction, I don't remember what the interaction was that I used. But that could have been the deciding factor to stop you, perhaps. I don't know. My details on it are fuzzy.
The only reason I did what I did is because you tapped out, though. Truth be told. Like, I had no intentions to do anything until you tapped out. You tapped out, and I was just like, did you? You did. And you were like, yeah, well, he's going to kill me. And I'm like, well, now I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
So... that's the only reason I did what I did, right? Like, every opportunity you die, and they're like, crap. Then, that's kind of the thing with Abdel, though, right? Like, if you tap out, you put your shields down, even if I don't have combo, I'm going to just do this, see how far deep I could get, and then try to draw half my deck, right?
So it's basically the same thing I was doing with my turn. I banked
exactly
until I was like, okay, let's just go ham and see what we get, and I got there. I probably got baited into using my interaction too soon, but I was literally So I know the deck a little bit better now, having played against it a few times. But at the time, in my head, I was like, you've got lands and rocks, you've got nothing going on. There's no combo pieces out. I'm safe to do this to stop him from killing me. And maybe, again, I should have just taken the damage and waited and see what happened. Maybe they pressured you more. Maybe they removed some of your stuff. I don't know. But it went the way it went. You won. And I just thought that it was funny that, you came into that. We all knew you were 2-0. We all knew that, like, I won a game. I don't think that either of them had won a game at all. So they should have really been trying to take you out just to get a win.
Yeah.
So that they could stay in the standings. I was already okay. Like, I already had a win. It was, like, I was banking on somebody. So the two guys that got into the finals because they had a draw and one more point than I did because I had 2 losses instead of a draw. Either it could have been any of us. Any of us could have went in if, like, that game would have drawn. I would have been in that running. If I would have gotten a win, I'd have been in that running. If one of those guys would have won, and then in the other game, one of the guys who hadn't had a win would have won, it would have been this, like, huge field of, like, 5 or 6 people that all had the same score. They might have had to do another round of a semifinal for those people just to see who gets into the final. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
Kind of the way it went down was frustrating for me because I was like, dude, I was right there the first game, didn't get it. I got it the second game. Third game, there was no way I was winning that game, but it still would have been, like, really cool to be like, it's my first ever tournament. I squeaked into the fucking finals, like, above these other guys that probably deserve it better. So that's what I was hoping for. It didn't happen. Maybe next time. We'll see. But overall, it was a very pleasant experience. Everybody was cool. Like I said, I didn't experience any salt or anything where anybody was talking shit. It was always like, dude, that was a cool win, or that was cool how that did. Everybody was like, GG's, It was all good sportsmanship. I had a good time. And honestly, at going into it with nerves, whatever, it was what it was. But like I said, I had that comfort of, I've played with some of these guys before. Every pod I was in, I had played with somebody before. So there was that not playing against complete strangers that kind of helped, I think.
Yeah,
and then just having the reps in with the deck helps a lot.
I was a bit awkward playing against you because I was like, crap, his deck's faster than mine. Like, crap. Like, what do I do and for the record, I mulligan to no interaction against you, for the record, by the way. That's what I did. I was just like, how do I beat him? If I interact with him, I'm not beating him. I'm like, I'm going to mull to a hand that just beats him. Like, actually races him. And I did, and I was like, yes, I mulled to this. This is good. I could race him because I'm a seat in front of him, but I don't think they'll tap out. And then, yeah.
And I wouldn't have. If I wasn't in such a pressured state, I don't think I would have. And honestly, nothing against the player that was attacking me. I don't think that it was necessarily a bad choice, but I also don't know that it was the right choice because, like, right off the bat, like on turn 2 or whatever, I was getting swung at, and it was like, I haven't even done anything. Like, I didn't even have anything out. Like, yes, I get you're scary, you're fast, whatever, but, like, wait until it looks like they're actually doing something, I would think. But then that's also maybe just being biased in the sense that, like, I wanted to fucking win. So
Yeah, we'll definitely do a breakdown about that later. I know me and Dallas have a few different aspects we're gonna do to help people out because there's actually a lot of dynamic there with, like, gut decks and Dargo decks and stuff, like attacking certain players, and a lot of people have been,
aggro,
like,
you
confused.
have to know, you have to know your target, who to go for first. And maybe I was the right target. I'm not saying that I wasn't. It just felt like I was targeted without having a reason, and that's what kind of didn't sit right with me. But it's the same in any format. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
some decks are kind of poised to present a threat right away, and some are poised to not present a threat at all. So, that's why TPIs and things were there, because they don't look like they're doing shit, and then they win at the end when everybody's expended all their resources. So, it was a learning experience. Being on the Ketis means that you are kind of all in and turbo, and that is what people expect, so they do go after you. So having the target on my back kind of sucked, but it was also, like, the best way for me to play because I was comfortable with it. And that's what I was telling Puzzle earlier at some point, where I was like, maybe I'll test out the breaches, because maybe breaches would have been the thing that would have, like, reeled it back where people aren't as aggro towards me, and also gives a little bit of card advantage that I wasn't getting with Ketis. But I really liked that storm turn and that win. That win was very satisfying for me. As soon as I got that, I was like, I didn't scrub out. I'm happy with my results.
I mean, even Kunks thought that one was super cool, and he was your opponent, right? He was just like,
Mhm.
"Look, that was the fairest match I had all day." I spoke to the player, me and player did the thing. We said what we were gonna do. We went to the 1v1. He had the answers for me, and I lost. But that was the fairest match. We did the thing, and it was great.
I
So,
enjoyed it too. It was a lot of fun.
but what else he got for him, Puzzle? What's he got?
I think that about covers it on my end. You got anything left for him?
No, man. I just want to say once again, Izlain, thank you again so much for being here with us.
Thanks again to Izlain. You'll be able to find all of his links down in the description below, along with
Thank you
links
for
to the
having me.
sanctuary and the common connoisseurs and all that jazz. Make sure that while you're down there, leave a like, subscribe if you're not, leave a comment if you have any thoughts, and we'll see you all next time.